This is by no means going to be a realistic fox. She'll be quite anthropomorphic, but I do want to try and capture the personality of the fox. I've always felt a kind of kinship with them. I started this project knowing I wanted to make a fox girl. I didn't have a fully formed plan, but I wanted to try something a bit different for the head shape and include lots of little hand-painted details. Although I've made a couple of fox art dolls before, I've never made one this size, so this gave me the opportunity to explore the theme in a bit more depth. I chose an orangey tan colour fabric for the head, body and upper arms, with a darker brown for the forearms and black for the hands, trying to stay as close as I can to the colours of the red fox that we have here in the UK. But because she's one of my art dolls, of course she'd need stripy legs and probably some long lace-up boots. When I'm making art, I'll usually have a basic idea for the concept, but I'm never totally sure how they're going to turn out. For me, the creation process is like a two-way conversation. It's as though my dolls tell me who they are as they come into being. With every stitch and brush stroke, I'm expressing a part of my inner world that's so far beneath the surface, I've forgotten it was there. In that sense, I feel like art is kind of like therapy for me. Being creative, bringing something into the world that didn't exist before, is how I cope with this experience of being human. Sometimes words don't come, and whether it's an art doll or a painting, the character's backstory seems just out of reach. When that happens, I just let it be. I think sometimes the story comes to the person who gives the art a home. It's not always meant for me to explain who this little button-eyed character is. My dolls and illustrations will tell their story when they're ready. As I was putting this art doll together though, I could sense a strong personality coming through. She's a vixen who's had to fight for survival. I could have made her a country fox in a cute traditional dress in autumn colours, but I felt like she wanted to be a little bit darker. As she started to take shape, it was clear that she was going to be an urban fox, and she was going to be gothic. At the moment, I'm living out on the canal in the Welsh countryside, and I don't actually see many foxes. Country foxes are quite wary of humans, with very good reason. So they generally stay hidden away in the safety of the brambles and the hedgerows. I'll occasionally see a young fox startled in the car's headlights when I'm driving in the dark, but most of the time they keep well out of the way. I do hear them calling at night though. Making an animal doll like this means I can get a little bit more creative with the painting. I'm painting some foxy markings, so there's going to be some white around the chin and the chest. And I also want to do a little bit of folk art design around the eyes. I might extend that to the arms and possibly the dress as well. I wanted to give her a long fluffy tail, so I thought it'd be a good way to use up some of the scraps of this copper coloured acrylic. This is just the excess I brushed out from needle felted hair on some of my other dolls. I try and create the least waste possible, so when I'm using yarn that needs to be brushed out, I'll keep the leftover fibre for other needle felting projects. By the way, if you're enjoying watching this one come together, please don't forget to hit the like button and let me know. Super thanks are always appreciated, or you can just subscribe if you like so you don't miss the next one. This is by no means going to be a realistic fox. She'll be quite anthropomorphic, but I do want to try and capture the personality of the fox. I've always felt a kind of kinship with them. Back when I lived in a town in northern England, foxes were pretty commonplace. They were quite used to living alongside humans, so although they'd keep their distance, they didn't see us as too much of a threat. There was a fox's den directly behind my house, in a grassy banking on the edge of a field where a vixen would raise her cubs every year. She used to cut through my garden to go hunting for food scraps in the neighbours' rubbish bins. Early in the mornings, I'd watch the cubs playing out on the fields, taunting the neighbourhood cats. The cats were completely unbothered by them. I think they were more amused by these mischievous little balls of fluff than anything else. Eventually, the land behind my house was sold and the field was sadly levelled to build a housing estate. I'll admit it was heartbreaking watching the diggers levelling the bank where the den had been. I'm sure our resident vixen would have found another suitable home, but it was sad to see her go. As for this little fox girl, I feel like she'd be savvy enough to find shelter where she could go safely unnoticed and live out her life undisturbed. An urban graveyard seems like it'd be a pretty fitting place for a goth vixen. I think she'd feel very at home in the oldest part of a cemetery, where the gravestones are crumbling and strewn with ivy and nobody visits anymore. I could have given her a casual outfit, but anyone who's heard foxes at night will know how dramatic they can be. So I felt like she needed a big lace party dress. Plus, the advantage of making a skirt from strips of lace like this is that the tail can poke out through the back.
Trusting your instincts, realize that knowing looks different to each. When living authentic, do more exploring, deeper than knowing just what is essential for life that is thriving. Go deep, mute out the chatter, feel it, burn off the fire, let go until there's peace to your core. Live a life you adore. True self, all that's standing. Live free from worry. Live by just being. Power in finding your wholeness in now. Go deep, mute out the chatter.
If you've made it this far into the video, leave me some fox emojis in the comments so I can see who's here. I've named this little one Marigold Inkwell, and here's her story. Just before the sun rises, while the streets are still quiet, Marigold emerges from her cosy den, tucked away at the back of the old graveyard. This is her favourite time of day. As a savvy urban fox, she knows this is the safest time to scavenge. The humans always leave plenty behind, and this winter morning is perfect. The grass sparkles with frost, and the smell of last night's fried food drifts across the high street. As long as she can avoid being seen, Marigold won't go hungry tonight. If you've enjoyed this one and you'd like to see more, I'll leave a video on screen for you to go and watch now, and I'll see you next time. Bye!